Princess Charlotte's unexpected heirloom honors both Kate Middleton and Princess Diana. The morning sun poured over Windsor Castle, illuminating its ancient stones with a golden glow. For Princess Charlotte of Wales, it was meant to be just another ordinary day of laughter, schoolwork, and sibling mischief. But fate had prepared something different. At only 10 years old, Charlotte was about to step into a legacy that bound her to two of the most iconic women in royal history: her mother, Princess Catherine, and her late grandmother, Princess Diana. And it would begin with an heirloom she never expected to hold. It happened in the family's private quarters, away from cameras, journalists, and curious eyes. Catherine had requested a small gathering, just herself, William, George, Louis, and Charlotte. The palace aides were dismissed, the corridors guarded, and the mood hushed. "Charlotte," Catherine whispered softly, kneeling to meet her daughter's eyes. "There is something I need to give you. Something very special." Charlotte, her curiosity piqued, tilted her head with that same determined confidence the public often saw in her. She had no idea that this day would mark the first chapter of her stepping into the weight of her family's history. Catherine reached into a drawer of her writing desk and produced a small velvet-lined box, old yet carefully preserved. She placed it in Charlotte's hands, her eyes shimmering with pride and emotion. "Go on, darling," she encouraged. "Open it." The room fell silent. Even George leaned forward, eager, while little Louis bounced on the sofa impatiently. William, too, stood tall and solemn, watching his daughter's tiny fingers pry open the box. Inside, glistening under the light, lay a delicate sapphire brooch framed in diamonds. The jewel sparkled with a beauty almost ethereal, yet its value was not measured in money, but in memory. Charlotte gasped, "Mummy, it's beautiful." "The brooch's first life. Princess Diana." "This," Catherine explained, her voice steady though her hands trembled slightly, "belonged to your grandmother, Princess Diana." The children grew quiet. Though Charlotte had never met her grandmother, Diana's image and stories filled the walls of Kensington Palace. Charlotte knew the photographs by heart. Diana in her iconic gowns, Diana holding William as a baby, Diana smiling with compassion that seemed to touch every life she met. "She wore this brooch," William added softly, "on occasions that mattered to her most. It was one of her favorite gifts from my father, your grandpa Charles." Charlotte's eyes widened. The connection felt surreal. She wasn't just holding a jewel. She was holding history. But then Catherine revealed a twist Charlotte hadn't expected. "When I married your father," she said, "this brooch was entrusted to me. It was meant to be worn by the future Princess of Wales. I kept it, cherished it, and wore it on very special days, quietly carrying your grandmother's memory with me." Charlotte blinked. "You wore it, Mummy?" Catherine smiled warmly. "Yes, darling. And now it's yours. You are ready." Charlotte's breath caught. In that moment, she realized this wasn't just a hand-me-down. It was a symbol of continuity, a bridge between Diana, Catherine, and herself. Prince William, usually so reserved with emotion, stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Charlotte's shoulder. "Your grandmother," he said carefully, "was strong, kind, and full of love for people. This brooch isn't just a jewel, it represents the heart she gave to others. And your mother carried that same heart when she wore it. Now, Charlotte, you will too." Tears filled Catherine's eyes at his words. Charlotte's little fingers closed around the brooch as though it were the most precious treasure on earth. George and Louis glanced at one another. "Why Charlotte? Why not one of them?" Charlotte noticed their looks and frowned. "Why me, Mummy? Why not George, since he's going to be king?" Catherine exchanged a glance with William before answering. "Because, Charlotte, you carry something special. You have your grandmother's spirit in you, her courage, her determination. Just as I have worn it, so must you. One day, people will look to you not only as a princess, but as a leader in your own way." George nodded slowly, understanding. Louis shrugged but smiled, happy enough to watch his sister glow. The world has already seen glimpses of Charlotte's strong personality. At royal events, she often gently corrects her brother's behavior, reminds George to bow or Louis to stop wriggling, and waves confidently to crowds with the poise of a seasoned royal. The brooch now solidified what many had whispered. Charlotte, though only 10, was destined to become one of the most influential royals of her generation. But there was one more surprise. Catherine reached into the box again and handed Charlotte a folded letter in Diana's handwriting. "This was written to me," Catherine said softly, "but I think it belongs to you." The letter was short, written before Diana's passing, and though Charlotte struggled to read the elegant script, her mother read it aloud. "To the woman who will one day guide my son's heart. May you carry him with love, and may our children, his and yours, know joy. Tell them they are always loved, no matter where I am." Charlotte clutched the letter against her chest, her eyes shining. Though Diana was gone, it felt as though she had reached across time to speak directly to her granddaughter. That evening, as the children drifted off, William sat beside Charlotte and shared memories of Diana. "She would have adored you, Charlotte," he whispered. "You remind me of her sometimes. So bold, so unafraid to speak your mind." Charlotte leaned against him, the brooch safely tucked away. "Do you miss her, Papa?" William's voice cracked slightly. "Every day. But seeing you, I feel her here again." The heirloom's passing didn't remain secret for long. Within weeks, word leaked from palace insiders, and soon, headlines blazed across newspapers. Princess Charlotte receives Diana's heirloom at age 10. A legacy revealed. Kate passes iconic brooch to daughter. Charlotte, the heirloom princess. Public reaction was overwhelming. Many praised Catherine's decision to pass the brooch to Charlotte so young, seeing it as a sign of trust in her growing role. Others marveled at the symbolism. Diana, through Charlotte, would never be forgotten. Privately, Catherine reflected on the decision. She knew the world adored Charlotte, but this was about more than image. It was about planting seeds of responsibility, of heritage, of continuity. "She needs to know," Catherine confided to William, "that she comes from strong women, that she has a part in shaping the family's future." William agreed, though he worried about the pressure. "She's still just a child," he reminded her. "Yes," Catherine replied, "but a child who will grow with love and guidance. And she'll wear this when she's ready, not before." As months passed, Charlotte occasionally wore the brooch for private family moments. Catherine noticed how her daughter would stand a little taller, smile a little brighter, whenever she wore it. It was as if Diana's spirit whispered through the jewel, urging Charlotte forward with confidence and compassion. Even George admitted one evening, "It really does suit her, doesn't it? Like it was meant to be." Louis, ever cheeky, added, "As long as she lets me borrow it one day." Charlotte giggled, shaking her head. Not a chance. The heirloom came to symbolize more than just a jewel. It represented 3 generations of women. Diana, whose legacy of compassion broke the barriers of royal tradition. Catherine, who carried that legacy into modern times with grace and independence. Charlotte, the future, already showing signs of becoming a leader in her own right. Through the brooch, their stories intertwined, becoming inseparable. Though still only 10, Charlotte's destiny seemed clearer than ever. She may never wear the crown like George, but she would wield influence in her own way, through charity, diplomacy, and the modern voice of a royal woman unafraid to stand firm. And one day, perhaps when she's grown, Charlotte herself will pass the brooch to another generation. Perhaps to her own daughter. Perhaps to a niece. But always with the story of 2 women before her who shaped her path. That night, as Charlotte lay in bed, the brooch resting in a case on her nightstand, she whispered softly into the dark, "Good night, Grandma Diana. I'll take care of it. I promise." The stars outside Windsor Castle twinkled just a little brighter, as though Diana herself had heard.